Close your eyes for a second and picture a typical weeknight in an American home back in the 80s or 90s. The sun's already down, the TV is glowing in the living room, and someone has just popped a frozen dinner into the microwave. A few minutes later, ding! That familiar sound every family knew meant the same thing. Dinner was ready, fast and easy. It was the era of busy parents, kids glued to after-school cartoons, and the rise of microwave culture. When frozen dinners weren't just food, they were a symbol of everyday American life. Before we jump in, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more nostalgic trips back in time. Now, let's dive into the 9 frozen dinners every American family relied on in the 80s and 90s. Salisbury steak with mashed potatoes and corn. And if there was one dinner that could transport you straight back to those simpler nights, it was the Salisbury steak with mashed potatoes and corn. Just the sight of that divided tray felt like childhood in a snapshot. The steak, really a seasoned patty floating in thick brown gravy, sat in its own little compartment, right beside a scoop of mashed potatoes that stayed piping hot no matter how long you let it cool. And then there was the corn, always perfectly squared off, like it had been cut from a cornfield made of plastic. It wasn't fancy, but it was comfort in its purest form. 7 minutes on high, and suddenly the whole house smelled like a weeknight in the 80s. It reminded us how something simple, salty, and warm could make the world feel steady, even for just a moment. Turkey with stuffing and gravy, a mini Thanksgiving. And then there was the frozen dinner that felt almost too fancy for a weeknight. The turkey with stuffing and gravy. It was like having a tiny Thanksgiving on a random Tuesday, the kind of meal that made the kitchen feel a little warmer, even if the day had been long. Most of us remember the version with that little smear of cranberry sauce tucked in the corner, just sweet enough to pretend it belonged there. And the stuffing, those soft bread cubes that tasted like they'd been near butter, even if they hadn't fully committed to it. But the magic wasn't really in the flavor. It was in the familiarity. Mom or Dad could come home late, tired from work, and this dinner still felt like no one was settling for less. It was comforting, predictable, and somehow festive in a quiet, humble way. A reminder that even the simplest frozen meal could bring a little celebration to an ordinary night. Lasagna that could keep its shape under a car tire. And then there was the lasagna, the kind so sturdy it felt like it could survive being run over by a car and still hold its shape. Stauffer's Red Box lasagna was a legend in the oven era, long before the microwave version showed up. You'd slide that heavy tray onto the rack, set the timer for what felt like an eternity, and wait as the house slowly filled with the smell of tomato sauce and melted cheese. Those perfect layers, noodles, sauce, and that gooey, stretchy topping became the backdrop for so many weeknights. It was the go-to meal for sleepovers, report card days, or anytime a whole crowd needed feeding without anyone actually cooking. And no matter where you lived, it tasted exactly the same, like a warm guarantee in a cardboard box. It wasn't just dinner. It was an event, the kind that made you feel like everything in the world could wait until after the last cheesy bite. Chicken pot pie with the nuclear core. And then there was the pot pie, the little golden dome of danger and delight. If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, you remember the warning, "Don't burn your tongue." That flaky crust on top would crack the moment your fork tapped it, revealing a molten core of peas, carrots, and soft cubes of chicken swimming in creamy sauce. It was a tiny volcano disguised as comfort food, the kind of dinner that felt almost magical once you finally got past the heat. There was something so ritualistic about it, too. Breaking through the crust, letting the steam escape, stirring everything together until it became this cozy, bubbling mixture that warmed you from the inside out. Even on the coldest nights, a pot pie could make the whole kitchen feel alive. It was simple, it was messy, and it was one of those meals that made childhood feel fuller, softer, and just a little more special. The mighty meatloaf with brown gravy. Few dinners from that era carried the quiet authority of the frozen meatloaf with brown gravy. Whether your family got the version with 2 tidy slices or 1 solid brick, meatloaf was weeknight gold. The gravy always managed to spill into the mashed potatoes. The green beans played their dependable supporting role, and the eternal debate over whether to add ketchup hovered over every table like a family tradition of its own. There was something unmistakably comforting about its structure. A firm, sliceable loaf, a blanket of gravy, and sides soft enough to mix together without anyone complaining. For many of us, it was the kind of meal that turned an ordinary evening into a familiar ritual. I still think back to eating it on TV trays, sitcom reruns in the background, the dog waiting patiently for a drop of gravy. It wasn't gourmet, but it tasted like home, and that was more than enough. Fish sticks and crinkle-cut fries, the Friday special. Few weeknight dinners from the 80s and 90s can spark instant memories quite like fish sticks with crinkle-cut fries, the unofficial Friday special in so many American homes. Those breaded sticks went into the oven frozen solid, but somehow came out golden, salty, and just crunchy enough to feel exciting. The fries curled into those familiar ridges, perfect for catching ketchup, while tartar sauce waited in a jar that only got opened on nights like these. For a lot of families, especially Catholic or formerly Catholic ones, this meal wasn't just food. It was routine, it was comfort, it was the taste of a long week finally settling down. You could smell that warm, toasty breading the moment you stepped into the kitchen, and you just knew it was Friday. Looking back, it wasn't fancy, but it made the end of the week feel safe, simple, and just a little brighter, the way childhood dinners were meant to feel. Kid Cuisine blue trays, with the dessert that never cooled. Nothing quite captures 90s childhood dinners like those bright Kid Cuisine blue trays, the ones with the cartoon penguin smiling at you from the box. Just seeing that neon packaging in the freezer aisle felt like a tiny celebration. Inside, you had the classics. Chicken nuggets or mac and cheese as the stars of the show, a scoop of corn trying its best to behave, and that infamous brownie glued into the corner, refusing to cool no matter how long you waited. For parents, it was a moment of quiet. For kids, it felt like independence. Pressing start on the microwave, peeling back the film, and pretending we'd cooked dinner all by ourselves. Nutrition wasn't the point. It was all about novelty, color, and the thrill of having a whole tray designed just for you. Looking back, it was messy, sugary, a little chaotic, but it carried a kind of joy only a 90s kid could truly understand. Pizza, the one-pan democracy. Few foods defined late 80s and 90s sleepovers like the humble frozen pizza. Totino's party pizzas, thin, crispy, and cut into perfect little squares, weren't always dinner, but they were democracy on a tray. Everyone grabbed what they wanted, no arguments necessary. The late 90s introduced DiGiorno and its promise of real pizza at home, giving freezers a new kind of Friday night magic with thick crusts and gooey cheese that stretched with every bite. There was something about the ritual, pulling that tray from the freezer, hearing the oven hum to life, and letting the smell of melting cheese fill the kitchen. that instantly turned an ordinary evening into something worth celebrating. Even today, pizza night carries the same nostalgic thrill. Whether it's a party pizza from the past or a plant-based pie crafted with a little modern love, it's comfort, fun, and memory all in one bite. Sometimes it wasn't the main course that made a dinner memorable, it was the sides. Those just-add-water companions, frozen garlic bread, buttery microwavable vegetables, and the little pouches of steam-in-the-bag rice, transformed a simple entree into a plate that actually felt complete. They were quick, dependable, and somehow magical, making weeknight meals feel intentional even when the clock was against you. I remember watching my parents pull a frozen tray of peas or corn from the freezer, pop a rice pouch into the microwave, and suddenly, dinner looked like it had taken hours to prepare. Today, I keep frozen veggies handy, skip the butter sauces, and let olive oil, lemon, and salt do the work. A quick slab of frozen rice microwaved for 90 seconds, and just like that, the magic of a full, comforting dinner is back. Simple, reliable, and timeless. Those frozen dinners, they might not have been gourmet, but they carried an entire childhood in every compartment. The smells, the colors, the little rituals, they're more than meals. They're memories that linger. Do you remember any other frozen dinners that took you back to those weeknights in the 80s or 90s? Share them in the comments. I'd love to hear your favorites. If this trip down memory lane made you smile, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more moments like these. Let's keep the nostalgia alive.